Let's kick it off with developments. This is with regard to that Putco story. The bus company making good on its threat to fire employees who've been on strike for several weeks now. Earlier, the Labour Court ruling that striking workers must return to their posts. Drivers were given until the end of business yesterday to present written submissions explaining why they shouldn't be fired. Putco spokesperson Lindokuhle Xulu joins us in studio for more on the story. Lindo, good evening to you. Thanks for your time. Firstly, let's talk about the threat that you as an organization had made where these workers are concerned, threatening to effectively fire all of them. We're looking at 1,000 workers. What have these 100 that have now been dismissed not done in order to effectively face this as their fate?
Well, this started on Tuesday after we failed to really convince workers to go back to work. You'd remember that when it started on the 1st of September, on Thursday, we had issued about 3 notices to say that this is an illegal undertaking and they must go back to work. They did not do that. We went to court on Friday, got an interdict, and they didn't listen to that ultimatum as well. So on Monday, we were supposed to actually proceed with this process, but they requested to sit down with the company, essentially coming to demand exactly what they are demanding on the streets. But unfortunately, as a company, we did say that this matter is before the Labour Court, and until such time it presents or pronounces on that matter, we cannot do anything. But fast forward to that, on Tuesday, we issued notices for an intent to dismiss the workers who are on strike. It is about 1,000 of these workers. And we did say that before end of business yesterday at around 5, we would expect representations, written representations, to be deposited to the company in consideration of what must in fact be considered when we try and look at those that need to be parting ways with the company. I must say that the representations that were made were around 400 individuals who took it upon themselves to do that. But in total, we received about 900 of these representations. The 500 was coming from the unions themselves, representing some of their members. All of these were considered, but also in terms of company processes, you do understand that there are people who are already on final warning, as well as in the past couple of days, there are people who have been identifying as the instigators, as the people who were blocking people from going to work, who were hailing threats and all of that. So the company took into consideration all of that evidence we have, and we've reached 105 people that need to part way with the company. But we must say this number is prone to change should there be no people that are willing to go back to work.
Was there no other way of handling this matter that didn't result in job losses? And I say this again because you have admitted the fact that much of the issues being raised by workers are still being taken through a court process where both you and the workers have appealed certain aspects around what they're striking over.
I would imagine that it's a question that really involves the unions themselves. I must say, Putco is a very heavily unionized business in terms of the unions. We have about 5 unions that are involved in our operations that are representing workers. And we are seeing that AMCU is one of those that is entering the space right now. But these unions themselves know exactly what is happening in court in terms of the appeals and all of those things, because they are the ones, in fact, that appealed the first exemption that we got from the bargaining council. So really, first of all, you must consider the fact that speaking to members of a union, it must have come from the unions themselves, because when we serve papers, we serve with them being quoted or cited in terms of the respondents in that particular issue. But secondly, we did communicate ourselves, as we do in each and everything that we communicate to our workers. I have a written notice that is dated April 5th to say that Putco will be undertaking a law action to go to the Labour Court and ask for a review of these processes, because it was granted to us, the exemption, and then it was appealed, but we are now bringing it to the Labour Court where we need deliberations in terms of what Putco needs to do.
Ultimately, this signals a breakdown in the communication between the organization and its employees.
Yeah.
Yes, you may not be satisfied with the fact that the strike has happened or even how it has happened. Do you think it's fair to fire these workers right now when even the matters that they're protesting about are still before the court?
It's not fair to the 150,000 people who are stranded, who are not getting the services and the mandate that we have of committing these people. We receive phone calls, messages, emails all the time. I sleep at 2 a.m. just writing letters to direct employers to say that this person has been affected by this particular strike. So if you look at the magnitude of what we have affected, and if you look at the fact that due process has not been followed by these workers, then it's certainly not fair. But I've recalled that 3 notices the first day, a court interdict, an ultimatum, a sit-down, as well as a notice to say we're going to dismiss you, and all of that has not deterred workers from doing what they are doing, which is an illegal and unprotected strike.
What
and that
happens
is why
tomorrow,
we've reached this place. Tomorrow we will be issuing out notices to those that have been fired. We understand that some business units have already done that in terms of pasting it outside because of the volatile situation we've been faced with, but we're going to make sure, because we've also sent to the unions, that that trickles down. But what we are going to be obsessed with tomorrow is to look at what we've lost as far as our human resources concerned, but also look at what kind of service we can provide immediately, and for the next couple of days, how do we move into bringing about the service that we've always provided to our people. So
does it mean that some of your routes will still be affected, and your operations from a commuter perspective will still be affected tomorrow?
We will cover as much as we can in terms of the ground. Our operations team know exactly what to do when it comes to working with limited staff. They've done that before during COVID-19, but they've covered all of the areas. So we're hoping that with this little that we can, at least even a fraction of these people who are asking us to return the services can be helped.
Lindokuhle Xulu is the spokesperson for Putco, and as you can hear there, the company really digging in its heels. Those workers then, 105 of them officially dismissed from the employ of the organization.